Hi everybody, and welcome to another All4Sci-Fi video. I'm your host Eric Walker, and today we're going to talk about Chapter 16, the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. This guy right here, The Mandalorian, the Season 2 finale, and wow, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get started, I want to remind everybody to please hit the subscribe button below. And remember to hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we upload a new video or whenever we go live, because we have our live, every week we have our live podcast where we talk about the latest sci-fi news. We also review movies. We have a live trivia contest that's related to sci-fi where we give free prizes every week. So you definitely want to hit that subscribe button below, hit the notification bell so you know every time we do live videos as well as upload these reviews. Okay, so let's get started. We're talking today about Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian. It's called The Rescue, and boy, is it a rescue. This episode was directed by Peyton Reed, and as you know, Peyton Reed directed Chapter 10, which was The Passenger. That was the episode that had the frog lady in it, that the cute little Grogu was eating all her eggs, the last of her kind, the species, which created quite an uproar around the world about, hey, what do you guys, what does this mean? You know, because everybody gets offended by everything, you know. But that episode was directed also by Peyton Reed, and Peyton Reed is best known for directing all the Ant-Man shows, and he also directed Bring It On and some other movies. But very talented director. Remember, they even had the original Ralph McQuarrie, when they were in the cantina there on Tatooine, they had one of the ant creatures there, which is kind of a nod, which is kind of a cool little throwback to Ralph McQuarrie, and also the fact that he was the Ant-Man director. A lot of people didn't pick up on that, but I did. But let's go ahead and give the official All4Sci-Fi rating first. We like to do that before we start discussing spoilers and stuff like that. So at All4Sci-Fi, we have a rating system of 0 to 5 stars. 5 stars is the best. It means it's the best, the highest I could give it. If it's 3 stars or lower, it's something we don't recommend. We don't recommend you stream it if it's something streaming, like The Mandalorian in this case that we're reviewing, or we don't recommend you go to the movie theater and spend a bunch of money on it whenever we could go back to the movie theaters with this virus kicking in. But 3 stars, pass on it. 3 stars and above, we kind of recommend it. And if it's 5 stars, of course, that's the highest you could get. So this episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 16, The Rescue, gets 5 stars. And if I could give it more than 5 stars, I would. But that's breaking all the rules. But this is the most solid 5 stars that I've ever given anything ever. Ever. I wish I could give it more than 5 stars, but I can't because that's the rules. But this episode definitely hits on all cylinders. So let's go ahead and discuss it. So if you haven't seen this episode, go ahead and pause and come back later. Okay, so the rescue starts off with their Din Djarin and all of them. They're with Boba Fett and Finnick and Cara, and they're inside Slave One, and they're chasing an Imperial cruiser. And guess who's in it? In the Imperial cruiser, the doctor's in it, the one that's stealing poor little Grogu's blood and doing all these experiments. He's in it, so they're chasing this cruiser, and they, instead of hitting it, Boba Fett disables it, shoots like an ion cannon or something at it, and just little electric stuff happens, and it knocks out and the whole, and it's dead in space. In fact, they make reference to it. The 2 officers that are with him. So they then come up and they board the ship. And when they board the ship, of course, Din walks in first, and one of the officers gets up and holds the doctor, and the other one says, I'm not with them. So he kills his Imperial officer because he's a snake, given up. And then Cara Dune walks in, and there's a little standoff. And he looks at Cara Dune, and he notices that Cara Dune has a tear, so he knows that she's from Alderaan. So he starts talking crap. And there's some great little dialogue back and forth, and he says, I was there on the Death Star when we blew up your planet. And she says, what Death Star? You know, kind of, he goes, yeah, I thought very funny, you know which one. So he's busy talking so much smack that Cara Dune shoots him in the face, kills him. And it's a great shot too. And as she walks back into this, back into Slave One, the Mandalorian turns around and gives this look like, what? What did she do? It's like, and that's the thing I want to talk about. Pedro Pascal, his acting, even with the helmet on. Even with the helmet on, he's such a good actor that just by a little look or a little nod, you know what his character, what the emotions are of his character, which is great. He does a great job. So after that, we go to the Slave One coming to another planet. They land, and Boba Fett and Din Djarin both go inside a bar. What is this with bars, man? What's going on with these bars here in the Star Wars universe? Every single planet, they always hop into the bar. So they go into the bar, and of course we see all the different species. And as a Star Wars fanboy, I'm all excited because we get to see all the different species again. And they walk over into the corner, and guess who's there? Bo-Katan's there with Koska Reeves. I don't know what happened. Their other comrade, their other Mandalorian, the gentleman wasn't there with them. And it's not explained where he went, why he's not there with them. So kind of curious what happened to that guy. But anyway, Boba Fett and Din Djarin walk over to Bo-Katan and Koska Reeves. Of course, Bo-Katan played by Katie Sackhoff, and Koska Reeves is played by the very famous wrestling girl. Her name is Sasha Banks, aka real name Mercedes Varnado, and boy is she a hottie. But anyway, so they start talking, and we get the little, and Bo-Katan kind of says to Boba Fett, "You're not a real Mandalorian," and of course Boba Fett says, "I never said I was a Mandalorian." And then she also, like, they get in a little argument, and she says, "You're just a donor." In other words, she's implying Boba Fett is just a sperm donor from his, or clone donor. Let's not say the sperm word. Cut that out. Anyway, she's implying that he's just a clone, and he is a clone. But we know Boba Fett, and we love Boba Fett. So, and then he mouths off back again to, during the same conversation, they talk about Mandalore and how Bo-Katan wants to get the Darksaber. And Din Djarin says, "You could have the Darksaber. My priority is the child. I want to rescue the child." And they end up and Boba Fett and Koska Reeves basically start fighting, and they have this real quick fight scene, which is pretty awesome, where they're knocking each other around. And of course, Bo-Katan stops them from doing it. "Stop it! If we Mandalorians showed even half of this, we wouldn't have let the Empire do what they did to Mandalore." Fair enough. All the dialogue in this entire scene is spot on. The writing, Jon Favreau, you're just kicking ass, dude. If I may say so, you just are literally kicking ass, and it's hitting on every cylinder. So she agrees to go ahead because she wants to get the Darksaber. So Bo-Katan says, "Okay, I'll help you rescue the child because I want that." And she also wants to, deal with Moff Gideon. Of course, she wants to kill him, she says. So later we go back to Slave One. They're planning everything out. They have a little thing of showing the ship and how they're going to plan it out. And the doctor starts talking, and they tell him to shut up. And the doctor says, "No, I have no ulterior motives. I'll help you." And so the doctor starts helping them plan this, how to deal with it. And they bring up the Dark Troopers, and they know that the Dark Troopers they take time to be powered up. So they need to get not only on the ship, but they need to get, one of them needs to get over to where the Dark Troopers are and turn them off so that they're not started, because, they're basically these kick butt robots that could kill all of them. They're very powerful. And we find out in a little bit, but they go ahead and plan what they're going to do, and how they're going to take, how Boba Fett's going to pretend like they're having a firefight and they're trying to get away from him. So they make those plans. Then the next scene, we see them in hyperspace. They're talking about how they're going to do it, and Bo-Katan tells Boba Fett, make it look like it's real. Make sure that the shots look genuine, and of course she's going to fake like distress call too as well. And so they come out of hyperspace right where Moff Gideon's cruiser is, and of course Boba Fett starts firing at him, and she starts calling to the ship that they need help, and the ship responds, and they're going to go ahead and release some TIE fighters. They're going to release TIE fighters to help out. So Bo-Katan takes the Imperial cruiser, and they say stay out of the way so that the TIE fighters can come, but she's going to come anyway and try to land and stop too many TIE fighters from taking off. But two of them manage to get off the launch bay before she does that, and then she takes the Imperial cruiser in, and doesn't have enough time to bring the wings down, so they're crash landing right on this Moff Gideon's cruiser. And after that, Boba Fett and Slave One quickly takes out those two TIE fighters, then shoots into hyperspace and takes off. And they come out of the ship, firing on all blasters, and they start, taking control of trying to pave the way so that Din Djarin could go to turn off the Dark Troopers, and also so he could go to where the brig is and get the child, Grogu. So great action, great fight scenes. They're just kicking butt. You got, Bo-Katan with Koska Reeves and Finnick and Cara Dune. 4 badass chicks, man. These are 4 chicks that you just, could whip my butt and whip most men's butt. And they're just doing away with these stormtroopers. And they make it so after they leave, the coast is clear, so Din Djarin walks down, and he's able to just walk on through. And as he's going through the ship, at one point he has to hide and duck here or there for a stormtrooper, a couple stormtroopers that might be running by him. But he ends up getting right up to where, and of course Moff Gideon right away as this is happening, and when they first come into the launch bay, he kind of senses what's going on, so he immediately tells them before they even come out, as they just got off the ship, he's already telling them to fire up the Dark Troopers. So during this whole time when they're fighting and Din Djarin's making his way, the Dark Troopers, the worst nightmare is happening. They're actually already powering up. So by the time Din Djarin gets over to them to try to close it or turn the power off, they're already powered up. In fact, they're starting to come out the door. He quickly closes the door, and one of them puts his hands in there, and one of them gets out, and then the door closes, and so Din Djarin is facing off with this Dark Trooper. He comes up, starts pounding Din Djarin. He's pounding him so hard, he's pounding him through the metal and everything, and he keeps hitting him in the head, and you think that this is it for Din Djarin. This Dark Trooper is so powerful. It's just amazing how much strength he has. But somehow, some way, Din takes his fire device and sets him on fire, so that it gets him to leave him alone for a second. Then the Dark Trooper throws him to the ground, and then Din tries to get up so that he could, release the valve that will shoot the Dark Troopers that are still at least closed off for the moment. He's trying to get them shoot them into outer space by opening the bay. And he grabs him again, and then he throws him again, and he gets up, and then finally Din takes his best car. He has that one that he got from when he was with Ahsoka, when he took Grogu to meet the Jedi, that episode. He has that Beskar sword, so he takes the sword and sticks it into the Dark Trooper's neck, and basically cuts his head off, finally defeating him. So then he goes up and he does pull that release valve, which opens up the bay doors and shoots all the rest, that whole platoon of Dark Troopers, shoots them in outer space. Yay, wow. Because, boy, that was one Dark Trooper, and that was enough. So then we go back to Bo-Katan and Cara Dune and Fennec and Koska Reeves, and they finally make it up to the bridge because they're going to, deal with Moff Gideon, and so Bo-Katan could get her Darksaber, but he's not there. Where did he go? Okay, you know where he went, because Din Djarin makes it to where the brig is. He quickly takes out the 2 stormtroopers that are there, and when he gets into the brig to get Grogu, the child, that's where Moff Gideon went. And he's wielding the Darksaber, and he's going like this, and my wife was real upset because she thought that Moff Gideon was going to take that Darksaber and kill Grogu, but he didn't. And they start talking, and Moff Gideon tells Din Djarin, I know Bo-Katan's with you. He seems to know everything that they're doing. And Din says, well, where are you going with this? Yeah, you know everything. And he tells Din Djarin that he talks about the Darksaber and how that belonged to Bo-Katan originally, and how it wields so much power. The reason why Bo-Katan wants it is so she could take the throne on Mandalore again. And he says, I don't care about that. Din Djarin says, I don't care about that Darksaber. All I care about is the child. And you could see Grogu and Din looking at each other, and and even Moff Gideon says, I could see you two have a bond. He recognizes it. He says, okay, if you let me keep this Darksaber, I'll let you have the child. I don't need the child anymore. I've already taken its blood. Because I want to study. All I ever wanted to do was study this child's blood, because the child has so much special abilities that his blood is so important that it could restore balance to the galaxy. That old phrase, that Star Wars phrase we hear over and over and over. Of course, we know Moff Gideon is used it with the Dark Troopers and whatever else he's going to use it for, to create some sort of super powerful dark Jedis or whatever he's going to do with it. So Din says to him, okay, that's fine. I'll take you keep that. And Moff says, okay, you take the child, but get off my ship. So he goes to grab the child, but Moff Gideon, being who Moff Gideon is, the second Din Djarin's back is to him, and as he's about ready to grab the child, he lights the Darksaber again and starts to, of course, Din also notices the lightsaber's been lit, so they start off and start fighting each other. They go into outside the brig into the hallway. They're fighting back and forth. Din Djarin grabs his Beskar sword, and of course the Darksaber cannot cut pure Beskar. They said that earlier. And as they're fighting, Din gets the upper hand, knocks the Darksaber out of his hand, and gets ready. It looks like he's going to kill him, but he doesn't kill Moff Gideon. And he says, oh, you spared my life. This is going to be interesting. The next shot, where we see the bridge doors opening. We're back where Bo-Katan and all the rest of them, and Fennec and Cara and all of them are at. And he's walking. Din Djarin is holding the sword. He has a child in his other arm. And he's pushing Moff Gideon, who he's defeated. And Moff Gideon's laughing this entire time. He throws him down in front of him, and Bo-Katan says, what happened? And Cara Dune says, oh, he spared his life, which means that the New Republic's going to double the payment. And Moff Gideon keeps laughing and said, that's not what she was talking about, Bo-Katan was talking about. And Moff Gideon just keeps talking away, and he says, and he says to Bo-Katan, are you going to kill Din Djarin? Are you going to fight him now to get the Darksaber? And he's laughing. And apparently he went down there to let Din Djarin fight him for the Darksaber, because the only way you could wield the Darksaber is if you win it in combat. So he's laughing. So, whoa, what are you going to do? And Din, of course, this entire time says, here, he takes, unlights it, tries to hand it to Bo-Katan. Here, you take it. I don't care. I don't care about all that stuff. I don't care about the story and how you have to win in a battle. Here, I yield. I give it to you. And Of course, Moff Gideon's laughing the whole time, and Bo-Katan says, "It's true. I have to win it in combat." And you start hearing these alarms go off again because a ship just started approaching, and it's an X-Wing. And when it was an X-Wing, they say, "Oh, geez, one X-Wing's going to save us." I knew the second I saw that X-Wing that what I've been predicting all year was about to happen. And suddenly you see a green lightsaber. Who had a green lightsaber? Who did I predict was going to show up on this episode all season long? That this is the Jedi that Grogu called, or that heard him, and suddenly the Dark Troop. Oh, before all this happened, the Dark Troop, before the X-Wing came, all the Dark Troopers who were out in outer space come back to the ship, and they start pounding on. They go up to the bridge and they try to break in the bridge. And then when this X-Wing arrives, suddenly they stop, and they're all asking, why did they stop? And you see like back to where I was telling you, since I forgot about the Dark Troopers part showing back up. But Luke, I just said his name, so I might as well tell you. The person that showed up is Luke Skywalker. And I knew it was him because how he was fighting, and it's a green lightsaber. And even though they didn't show his face until after he quickly defeats all of these Darksabers like they're nothing, he knocks them all out, and he comes in there and he takes his off the cloak, and you see it's a young Luke Skywalker. And they did some sort of thing with CGI. They did it. It looks like Luke, but I could tell it's CGI. And that, to me, was okay. But guys, you got to get better with the CGI or don't do it. Because I noticed it. It still looked great. And I'm sitting there crying. I'm all emotional. It's like I knew Luke Skywalker was going to be the Jedi that was going to come and take the call to train Grogu. I knew it was going to be him. I said it all along. Everybody else said it was going to be other people like Ezra Bridger, or maybe it's Cal Kestis from that game, Jedi Fallen, or it was going to be who else. But I knew it was going to be Luke. I just felt it. I used the Force. But it was Luke, and the ending scene was so emotional. He tells Din Djarin, says, "This is one of your kind. He is a Jedi. You need to go with him." And then Grogu doesn't go, and then Din says he doesn't want to go with you. Then Luke says, "No, he does want to go with me, but he wants your permission." Of course, Din is now his dad, and that's his child. So he then picks up Grogu and says, "Look, you do need to go with him. Basically give him the permission." And then Grogu looks at him and tries to touch his helmet. He wants to see his dad's face. So, of course, Din Djarin takes off his helmet so Grogu could see his dad's face for the first time, probably. And this is the second episode of the year that Din took his mask off. Another thing I've talked about a lot in reviews and all the other stuff we've been doing this year is we keep hearing that the Mandalorians, this is the way, is to keep the helmet off, to never take it off. But we found out this season through Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians that that's the old way. That Mandalorians now don't do that. That was that the only ones that do that now are these really religious types that keep the very ancient way of only never taking a helmet off. So I know that they're trying to get it so Pedro Pascal Din Djarin could take his helmet off. And I know it's been said that he wants to do more without the helmet as well. So I guess, I don't think they're writing it in for Pedro Pascal. I think that it's a natural evolution of the character. And forget about all the rumors out there. I think that the writing I think that Jon Favreau had this planned out all along, and he even probably has the third season planned. But I'm happy that it resolved itself at the end of this season. So at the very end of the episode, they say their goodbyes. It's very emotional. We get another great surprise as R2-D2 shows up. Luke's, companion. and he shows up, and then Grogu and them are talking, and R2D2 does his thing, shaking because they're having a great conversation, and then they kind of like each other, and they can communicate. Apparently, Grogu really communicates a lot more telepathically more, and we know the Jedi could do that, but Grogu does it. He has it in spades. So Luke picks him up, and they say goodbye. He says, "May the Force be with you." And by the way, it was Mark Hamill, even though it was a double on the set. It wasn't him doing the fighting. He had a different double for the Jedi. The guy got a credit for it, actually, the guy that really did the on-set stuff. And they did the face as CGI. It is Mark Hamill. It is his voice. There were rumors on the internet that Lucasfilm at one point asked Mark Hamill for permission to have Sebastian Stan play, because he looks a lot like Mark Hamill as a young kid. Like, I looked like Mark Hamill when I was younger too. I don't as much now look like him. I do a little bit, but I'm much older anyway. But Luke's younger, and I'd have to get into shape. But anyway, that's not my calling. I'm not an actor anymore. But I think that if they do in the future, if they do a spin-off and they let Grogu have its own series, he have his own series where he's getting trained by Luke, they can't do this. CGI is very expensive, so they can't do CGI all the time. So maybe those rumors were true. Maybe they're talking about doing another series with Grogu, or a series with Luke training the young Jedi. But they haven't announced it yet, so we don't know. But we do know that they made an announcement recently that there's going to be 9 new TV shows based on the Star Wars universe. Of course, one of them was Ahsoka. Ahsoka's going to get her own show. And we have also by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they're doing Ahsoka. They're doing Rangers of the New Republic, which I feel that they've been setting up on this last season of The Mandalorian, because you keep seeing the New Republic show up. And you have, remember Dave Filoni showed up with another captain. That captain showed up again in another couple episodes, even another episode where he was talking with Cara Dune. So he's definitely part of the New Republic, and we got Cara Dune too. So maybe she could be one of the new Rangers. So I really think they've spent a lot of time setting off this spinoff. So I wonder who it's going to be. I think maybe Cara Dune might be part of the new Rangers. Definitely, or some of the people that they set up this year. But that's going to be interesting. And then after the end credits were done, we got like a Marvel, like how Marvel does in the movies. We got this, suddenly a scene came up, and we see Jabba's palace. It looks like nobody's there any longer. Of course, Jabba's dead. And we go inside and we see Bib Fortuna. And it was interesting because I looked on the credits, and Matthew Wood, congratulations, Matthew. He does a lot of the sound design at Lucasfilm. It's great to see. He did a lot of voices. He did General Grievous and some other voices too. It's great to see you acting, Matthew. Great job. But he played Bib Fortuna, who is, I guess, on the throne now that Jabba's gone. And then we see a bunch of firefighting going on, and then coming down the stairs after she's killing all these different Gamorrean guards and stuff, we see Finnick. And Finnick goes over and releases another slave. And then after that, Boba Fett walks down and Bib Fortuna starts talking to him. "Oh, Boba, I thought you were dead. It's nice to see you." Yeah. And then Boba Fett shoots Bib Fortuna dead, and then walks up and throws him off Jabba's throne, and he sits down, and then Finnick sits down next to Boba Fett, and then it ends and it says, "The Book of Boba Fett coming December 2021. So they just announced that we're going to get the Book of Boba Fett, which is great. But there's a total of 9 different shows. 3 that I just mentioned, Ahsoka, the Rangers of the New Republic, and now the Book of Boba Fett. There's a few others. I think there's a movie that they announced about that they're doing too. But there's just a lot. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. But anyway, that's it. That's a season finale of Chapter 16, the season-ending episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. 5 stars. We're going to give it 5 stars. And thank you guys for joining us. Please, as always, remember, hit the subscribe button below so that you're notified every time we upload a new video or go live and do our live trivia contest so that you guys can win free prizes. We just hit 10,000 subscribers, so thank you guys very much for all that. I'm Eric Walker, saying may the force be with you all. Take care. I kind of said that like it with a Texas accent. With y'all. Bye for now.